Hello and welcome to Nirmapang, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Hiroda. Today we have with us Nihal Cheda, Assistant VP Corporate Strategy at Twin Spikes, joining in. Welcome to the show, Nihal, and it's good to have you back. Between what we spoke last time versus what the numbers have come with regards to the first quarter of FY21, I'm sure it's better than what the street was estimating. It is better than what you had expected as well. If you could just run us through as to what met your expectations and what has gone above your expectations for the quarter?
Sure. Thank you for having me again, Hiral. As far as quarter one is concerned, I think, like you said, performance has been better than what the street expectations were. Even my expectations, it has beaten even the internal expectations that we had. So overall, there has been a value contraction of around 20% compared to quarter one last year, which, if you look at April, was largely a washout. May we saw a sort of north of 80% sort of recovery, and in June, we actually saw double-digit value growth compared to last June, which is very encouraging that we're at least moving in the right direction. Um, so that's as far as the performance is concerned, and I think that really shows the resilience of our business model. And I would attribute that to two major reasons. One is our product portfolio, where we are exposed to multiple products, multiple product applications. So, apart from your normal plumbing and sewage applications in the housing segment, we also have a good exposure to the agriculture segment, where we have a good brand recall for irrigation and borewell pipes as well. So that part of the portfolio, of course, has been really robust. And second reason for this resilience, I would say, is our distribution network. And I was talking to you about the strategy of, winning in many Indias. And that strategy, I think, is important now more so than it has ever been for us. And we already, since decades, something like a distribution model, you can't build overnight. And it has always been Prince's, we've always stayed core to our distribution network. We've stayed true to our distribution network. We've always been a retail-oriented B2C brand, not only in urban India, but also in semi-urban tier 2, tier 3, tier 4 cities and rural part of the country, where not only agriculture, but also domestic application also has been, I would say, use the word thriving. So these two reasons, our network and our product basket, has really helped us post this sort of healthy recovery.
Right. So, overall, if you see in terms of different segments, is it that the exposure that we have with regards to the agricultural segment is something which has given us this growth? Or do you think even if you look at plumbing as well as the SWR segments, they have also seen that quantum of growth?
Yeah, so growth has not been restricted to one segment. We have done well across. Of course, agriculture has been the demand driver, if I can use the word. So agriculture has led the momentum, but we have, if I look at the second half, let's break it up into two 45-day periods. So the first 45 days obviously was tepid because of the lockdown. But the second 45 days, mid-May to end of the quarter, has been pretty robust across plumbing and SWR as well, where, like I said, demand from tier 3, tier 4 has really been encouraging. And that's not only the case for us, but I would say for the economy at large. And we are, we're glad that we have a very strong reach, retail reach, especially in that part of the country, where we don't have to now try to build a network overnight. We've had that network for decades now. So that's really going to come to the front and center.
Right. And overall, right now when I see your numbers as well, Nihal, between April to June, we have seen good momentum. Like April single digit. Again, if you see May, June, we came back to the triple digit number, and there is that uptrend that is seen. If you have seen, an overall July number and how August has started, it's just been 3 days. So, are you seeing that uptrend that has continued in the month of July as well?
No, so I think June was very, very good because it was not only there was a decent amount of pent up demand as well in the system because of lower sort of inventory across the channel. So that has definitely contributed to this double digit growth. July has we have seen like a more than a 90% recovery. So we're still moving in the right direction. It's really while we are sort of cautiously optimistic in the short term, in the long term, I'm still bullish because of one reason. that is even pre-COVID in the piping industry, there was market consolidation that was taking place. So
Correct.
maybe the market size was really not getting that much bigger, but the big were getting bigger. The big four or five guys were really eating up market share from not only the unorganized players, but from the smaller, organized regional players and medium-sized national players as well, who are going through some distress. And post-COVID, these companies are going to be further hit. The kind of cash flow hit that people have taken, the kind of inventory losses that people have had. Balance sheets like ours can absorb that. So there will be further consolidation that will take place in the market, which in the medium term, I think that should play out pretty well for the bigger companies.
Right. So overall with this, if we have to actually look at what's happening right now on the margin front as well, how is the trend expected to look like? Because yes, we've seen a dip in the margin profile as well. But do you think on the margin front we will see muted moves going ahead?
Yeah, see, so we performed at 10.5% EBITDA in major reasons for margin expansion. One is operating leverage had an adverse impact with April having negligible sales. We did not give any salary cuts, no layoffs. I think it's a great time to build a very strong team morale and culture. So obviously we're sitting on a high amount of fixed manpower cost. So there was operating leverage, worked against us in April. And when you said more agriculture, while it is a strong demand driver, the margin profile for agriculture is not as strong as for the rest of the products. So that is, one is the operating leverage, that had an adverse impact in April. The second was agriculture having higher sales, and due to the volatility of PVC, we did have some M2M losses on the raw material front as well, which led to the margin contraction. But again, I think we're moving in the right direction. If I look at May and June, we had a pretty significant sort of operating margin profile, which was encouraging, which is why for the entire quarter, despite having 1 month of no sales and still a pretty decent fixed cost, we're still able to post a double-digit margin because we're moving in the right direction, not only on top line, but also on bottom.
Right. And Neha, overall, if you see in terms of how the construction activity goes now, that is still muted. You have the monsoon as well. Is that something which is a cause of concern right now for the sector?
Yeah, see, I think that is going to remain a challenge. There's no shying away from that. But like I keep talking about, is market consolidation. So maybe the demand might not thrive, but there is going to be supply constraints. There are companies who are struggling because of whatever balance sheet constraints, working capital issues. This hampers their ability to provide product into the market. As a result of which we are gaining market share. So there will be concerns as far as real estate activity is concerned. But having said that, Prince has always been a retail-oriented brand. We have always been a more B2C brand, where our value chain is from distributor to retailer to plumber. So we've always had a very strong brand equity with a plumber or a farmer or even a homeowner, where today we are a brand which is very well known across the B2C segment as well and the retrofitting market, which is not a discretionary spend. Today, if your tile is, if you want to change your tile, you can defer that expense. If you want to paint your house, you can defer that expense. But if your pipe is leaking, you have to fix it. It's really non-discretionary spend. So as far as retrofitting demand is concerned, I'm still bullish. And on the new project demands, I think that concern will be offset by the market consolidation, since the number of players also is reducing. And that was happening pre-COVID as well.
Right. And what is the raw material price trend looking like right now? Because if we saw even in terms of a PVC resin pipes go, prices had fallen during lockdown by almost, I think, it had almost become 1/3 if I'm not mistaken. Large organized players already passed on 50 to 60% of the fall. What is the trend in your, in your space right now?
Yeah, so PVC largely is a global commodity, which of course is an offshoot of crude. So we did see like a 14% reduction during COVID in PVC. which has been completely recovered post-lockdown. And in fact, today PVC is more expensive than what it was pre-COVID,
Okay.
which I think in itself talks about the the how the piping players have performed. Since 70% of the PVC consumed in India is consumed by pipe manufacturers. So the fact that PVC today is more expensive than it was before COVID talks about how the demand scenario has played out in the first 4 months of this fiscal.
Right. And overall, any impact with regards to the kind of depreciation that we saw in the Indian rupee on the raw material front?
Yes, so there has been a sort of M2M hit that we have taken of around 10 to 12 crores due to the volatility of PVC. So that is broadly resulted in the margin contraction. It's a one-time hit that we have taken, and that is owing to the volatility of the raw material. But it has completely recovered. It is back to pre-COVID levels, higher than pre-COVID levels, and PVC will continue to remain strong.
Right. And overall, going ahead as well, anything that you're building in terms of your forecast that, I mean, I know you've just spoken about it, that it's really difficult to anticipate what the year is actually going to look like because you don't know what's going to happen. But as for strategy, are you building in anything in terms of how much degrowth are you ready to take in right now if there is no recovery that could be anticipated?
Sure. I think if you look at COVID, it's the impact that it's going to have on the industry is there's going to be two kind of companies. One is the haves, and then the second is going to be the have-nots. And that consolidation I'm talking about is not only going to be in the marketplace; it's a complete sort of organizational one. So today we not only have to focus on market share and top line, not only on bottom line and margin profile, but one important thing in such times is quality of the balance sheet. And how I think it's the best time to focus on cash flow. And we've been able to do that really well, where even in such times, we've paid off 5 crores of debt in quarter one itself. From the end of quarter one till date, we have further paid down, around 18 crores of debt, which shows you the inherent, liquidity position that we are in. And the how robust our financial position is that we are able to pay off debt even in such times where there is really a liquidity crunch and a cash flow crunch across organizational across organizations, across industries. So I think it's a great time to not only focus on market share growth, sustaining your margin profile, but I think it's very important to focus on cash flow. I think capital allocation now is more important than ever, and we have been able to pare down debt, where debt to equity ratio now for us is below 0.10. So that is pragmatic with cash flow and debt. So that's number one. I think another question that you had was on strategy and medium-term strategy in such times. So for us, like I said, in the short term, we are cautiously optimistic. But in the medium term, I am pretty bullish in terms of there should be a vacuum in the industry owing to the market consolidation, as a result of which we are in a very unique position today because of the recent IPO, where we have a growth capital raised already. So today we have 6 plants across the country and a strategic sort of manufacturing network, which is very important for us because freight costs is a big part of our cost structure in the piping industry. So for us, we are going to commence production at our 7th plant in Telangana, which will come from the IPO proceeds. Around 180 crores of capex will go into that plant. And I think we like doing capex when other companies are not doing capex. This helps us move away from the rest of the market and reduce the gap between us and the guys who are bigger than us. And we are in a unique position where people are, going to try to reduce capex because of, they're going to be doing it from internal accruals and will have all sort of budgetary constraints. We are able to encash on these market share gains that will be there available as a result of the consolidation by continuing our growth capex as per normal. So for us, Telangana should commence production by quarter 2 or quarter 3 of next fiscal, and we will stick to our timelines apart from the 3-4 natural delay due to COVID, we will stick to our growth capex timeline since we do see market share gains to be made in the medium term, and this capacity should be the right kicker to gain that market share in the medium to long term.
Right. So right now we have to see in terms of production as well. At what production capacity are we working?
Yeah, so we are working at 70% of production capacity, which is sort of ideal or peak capacity for us, considering the nature of the industry. I think 70% is ideal capacity utilization, and we are pretty close to that level currently in the months of June and July. So production capacity utilization has been robust, I think, which is very, very important.
Right. And in terms of operating costs as well, we understand that employee cost is a fixed cost, but I think for Prince, it's 50-50 where, in terms of payroll as well as on contract. So is there any, I mean, the ones on payroll are there, but the ones who are on contract or something, are there cost reductions happening on that front?
Yeah, so in quarter one, we every company had to rationalize costs, and we've done that as well. With a very strong execution intent, we've been able to reduce 8 to 10 crores of fixed cost. One of the biggest reasons of that, especially on the contract labor front, has been when our plant was shut for one whole month. You're obviously, at least the contract labor part, there is going to be a cost reduction. But going forward, we are working pretty close to, our production capacity utilization is pretty close to what it was pre-COVID. So we luckily, a lot of the companies have to focus on survival and see how they reduce costs. But because of the resilience of our business model, we don't have to focus on survival. We have to focus on revival now. So for us, we are sort of looking beyond just cost optimization, where we are focusing on cash flow, on improving the quality of the balance sheet. And one important part for us in terms of cost optimization, I wouldn't like to call it cost cutting. I think we're optimizing costs. And one way of doing that is that we have had a widespread adoption of solar energy across all our plants, which will further help us reduce on the power cost. So 4 of Prince's manufacturing facilities will have the harnessing of solar power, which not only helps us meet our financial bottom line, but also our environmental and social goals. So, in such times, we also have to be future ready. And for organizations, especially, of our size and caliber, it's not only one bottom line. For us, it's a triple bottom line concept, where you not only look at financial bottom line, but also environmental and social bottom line. So harnessing solar energy will not only help us, save costs and, reduce our power cost, but also reduce the carbon footprint of Prince pipes in such times.
Right. And overall, last time, Nihal, when we spoke, the inventory that we were sitting on was almost around 75 to 80 days. What is the kind of inventory movement right now?
Yeah, so we were sitting on around 350 odd crores of inventory at the end of last fiscal, and that is owing to the sudden lockdown that had come in a peak month.
Correct.
Sales, and that high inventory actually was a blessing in disguise for us, because when we got permissions to dispatch, but we didn't have permissions to produce, at least in the first half of the quarter. So at that time, we were able to effectively penetrate the market with that sort of inventory that we were carrying, and that has come off. So we have been able to liquidate, around 100 crores of inventory in Q1. And inventory, as we speak, has normalized to around 250 odd crores, which is our normal inventory that we carry. That has really helped us be plush with liquidity today, where we are sitting on a good amount of cash, and we've been also able to reduce debt. So I think working capital also has seen a major improvement in quarter one, which is really encouraging. It shows that this demand is pretty sustainable. It's happening to the last mile. Not that just distributors are stocking up or anything like that. They are selling to the retail network, and the cash flow across the value chain is happening. As a result of which, we are also able to improve our working capital and pair of debt, which is very important in.
Right. Yeah, my last question is, when we're talking about the model as well, I think almost around 40 to 45% of the sales for Prince is generally, in terms of cash. Now, this is pretty much a cash and carry model that we are looking at, which is good for business as well. Do you think the percentage with regards to where the cash movement goes through this model is expected to increase during lockdown, or it has increased from 40 to 50%, a little higher?
Yeah, so I think we are at a good number today. I think
Mm.
40% in advance payment or a cash and carry payment is a significant number.
Mhm.
I think this is something that is very sensitive because you can't look at it only with wearing your finance cap on. You also have to
Correct.
see it from a market point of view and really be market friendly. And today,
Correct.
like I said, when we don't have to focus on survival, we have to focus on revival. Today,
Mm.
we have the luxury of looking at that payoff and not choking the channel from credit, and being able to be market friendly. So for us, it's a fine line. It's something that we monitor very closely. It's something that the senior management also, it's a key result area for the head of sales and the CFO to improve the quality of the balance sheet. I think going forward, we would like to sustain the debtor days at what it has today and gain market share. I think we've been able to significantly reduce our receivable days over the past couple of years. And I think maintaining the current working capital cycle would be a top goal for us. And we are hungry to sort of improve ourselves in that domain as well.
Right. And you have very lastly in terms of the ad spends as well. Now that because of COVID, what's happening is everywhere across industries, it's the retail demand which is higher versus institutional demand. Taking into consideration construction activities also slow for a company like yours, do you think that the need to spend higher on advertisements and marketing is something which is going to be the need of the hour? And will we be increasing our ad spend as a percentage of sales?
That's a great question. I think the way I look at it is, I don't even with my team, I always encourage them to say, it's not brand spends, it's brand investment. You're
Hmm.
investing in your brand. It's
Correct.
always going to be a long-term exercise.
Hmm.
And it's so important currently, not only because, I think that's a great point that, retail is going to be the kicker,
Correct.
especially for our industry and for prints. Uh, and today people have to cut on their branding expenditure because people are thinking about survival. So again, it goes back to the concepts of haves and have-nots. Where the companies who are doing well,
Hmm.
like us, because of the resilience of our business model,
Hmm.
I have the luxury to invest in branding today, which is always good because companies, when they're trying to reduce their branding costs, there's going to be more eyeballs available for the companies, and there's going to be less clutter that is available.
Hmm.
So it really helps you become, put yourself in the top of the consumer's mind. So for us, we had started investing in our brand over the past 3-4 years, where we were investing 2.5 to 3% of sales into branding expenditure. And if we are able to sustain the kind of recovery that we've had in the second half of Q1 and July, I think we've seen encouraging sort of sales recovery. And if that sustains, we will not shy away from investing in brand. We understand that it's a long-term exercise, and it's very important to consistently investing in brand building to be able to build that strong brand perception that Prince already has. So we will not shy away from encashing that. And going forward, I think you cannot look at it only as from a fixed cost point of view. I
Correct.
think it's a great time to invest in branding, and we will be aggressive with branding, especially if sales continues the way it is. And the good part about branding is it's a flexible cost, right? Like today, if I see that, if I see that, more states are going into lockdown, our principal markets are going into lockdown, we can very easily cut on our quarterly branding expenditure as well. So it's a pretty flexible cost. So it's not like a sunk cost or something that becomes uncontrollable. So we will not shy away from investing in branding expenditure as long as sales recovery is there.
Absolutely, and I think right now in terms of the branding side of on the marketing and the kind of investments that are going out as well, the value that you're getting for that investment is really good. At least in these last 3 to 4 months, because when I'm talking to consumption brands as well, probably it's two-third, three-third of the rates, and the returns that they're getting are almost 10 times. So I think this could be the best time with regards to brand investments as well. But thank you, Nihal, so much for joining us on the show. It was a pleasure speaking to you. I hope you enjoyed the conversation as well, and we will catch you soon. Thank you so much and stay safe.